Hello and welcome to today's webcast on unlocking AI potential, brought to you by Insight, Pure Storage, and NVIDIA. Below this webcast, you will see an attachments tab where you can navigate to after this webinar. There you'll find additional information on assets on today's topics. Now I would like to turn it over to our speaker, Juan Orlandini, Insight's Chief Technology Officer and Distinguished Engineer. Juan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Claire. And as Claire said, I am Juan Orlandini, and welcome to today's webcast. First, let me dive into a little bit about who Insight is, if you're not familiar with us. We are a very large global systems integrator, and to comprehend everything that we do would take all of a webcast. I'm going to boil it down to these 6 things. It's the modern workplace, where we can help our clients in modernizing their workplace. The modern applications, which include AI capabilities, modern infrastructure, which for us means not just hardware and software, but any layers of that are considered infrastructure as well. So a good example of that would be maybe a DevOps pipeline or something along those lines. The intelligent edge, where we can take advantage of all of the sensor capabilities that we've built over the last 40, 50 years, and add another layer of intelligence on top of that to get new outcomes for our businesses. Data and AI, a foundational element to many of the technologies that we bring to the market, and to help our clients walk through, which I'll be spending quite a bit of time on today. And cybersecurity. Without it, all this stuff could fail. So we build cybersecurity across everything that we do. And the best way to think about these capabilities is that they're Lego blocks. So when we work with our clients, we very often have to intermingle multiples of these to deliver the outcome that our clients are trying to achieve. So with that, let's dive into where we play into the AI space. So there's really 2 major parts to it. One is the modern data platform. Without the right kind of data, you're really not going to be able to drive the AI outcomes that you're going to want. And I'll talk about that more in a second. You also do want to make sure that you are doing this in a business context. So you have to have the business intelligence and understand what outcome you're trying to drive out of it. And then on top of that, you add the artificial intelligence capabilities that we've all heard about over the last year, or depending on how you look at it, the last 40 years. So, but this is where we really bring all of the power of Insight, because we can build all of those capabilities into one outcome for our clients. All right, the way I like to talk about AI is that it really comes in 3 major buckets. And this is just a way of segmenting the conversation. This is not technically accurate. If you're a technically bent individual, you could probably find some issues with this. Just help me help you by making sure that we're having the right conversation as we go through this journey here. First is a big bucket that I like to talk about is what I call the do AI bucket. And in that one, you really are building new foundational models. So you're starting with some basic research. You might have a pre-existing foundational model that you're advancing to the next generation, or one of those kinds of things. And in order to do that, you really do need to have lots and lots of data. Organizations that are building state-of-the-art, world-leading AI foundational models have billions, if not trillions, of data points in the data sets that they have. And those data sets are also highly curated and manicured and managed and all that good stuff. You are going to need lots of compute. So things like GPUs and CPUs and interconnectivity between all of that. And oh, by the way, you are also going to need some world-class researchers, data scientists, data architects, data engineers, all of those types of personas in order to do this thing. And typically when we see this is organizations that are either have a wealth of data that they've curated over a long period of time, or are trying to build an AI startup or an organization that is focused deeply on AI. So in that category, I would put in people like OpenAI / Microsoft, Google, Hugging Face, Anthropic, any of those kinds of organizations. And you're building very specialized models for that. I'm going to talk about the right-hand side of the slide next, and that's to use AI. And in this model, What you're leveraging is an AI capability as a feature of a product. And that feature could be deeply embedded in the product, or it's almost transparent to you, or it could be something that you interact with on a daily basis. So ChatGPT is a good example of using AI. You're really interacting with ChatGPT directly, right? Or if you're in the Microsoft world, if you're on Copilot, you're interacting with Copilot in Teams or in Excel or in Word and PowerPoint, whatever side of the house that you're doing it. And there's lots of these products that are out there that are embedding AI capabilities into it. Now, what's interesting about that, these things are fundamentally changing how we interact with computers. A good way to think about it is we're changing our programming, our interaction from mouse clicks to natural language. We're saying, hey, Chat GPT, what's the answer to this? And you're not clicking, browsing and doing, it's answering it. Or you're asking Copilot, hey, summarize this email for me. And it gives you a good summary of the thread of emails or a meeting or one of those things. But the capabilities are evolving so deeply and fundamentally and so rapidly that we have to retrain our users on how to interact with this stuff. And there's not a manual that's been built yet. It's kind of being built as the product is being built and maturing. So we have to be very mindful of that. There's going to be some organizational change management associated with that. And there will be some things that we have to do in order to help our end users, our consumers, our internal folks in our own organizations adopt these fundamentally new technologies. And in the middle, which is where I'm going to spend most of the rest of the conversation on, is what I call adapt. And what you're really doing in that is taking something that got built by either you or somebody else in the do column on the left-hand side, and you're adapting it to your business, whether it's with more fine tuning or some embeddings or a combination of all of those, and then creating something that then gets represented out on the right-hand side to the use side of the conversation. And in that one, you are still going to need some curated data sets and some data governance and all of those things. You are probably going to need some folks that actually understand how all of these technologies interact with each other. So you might need some data scientists, data architects, data engineers, but not to the same degree as you would from on the left-hand side of the chart. This is a great way to take something that has been fundamentally created by like a Google or Anthropic or Meta or any of those organizations, adapting it to your business needs with your data sets, and then representing it to your users, whether they're internal or externals, on the right-hand side. So I did throw out a couple of words or phrases out there that I want to spend just a real light touch on. One is called fine tuning. And in fine tuning, what you're doing is you're taking a foundational model, ChatGPT, Google just announced Gemini, or Llama 2, which is from Meta. And you're retraining it with additional data that is purposefully built for a very specific task. And it's specialized responses is what you're looking for. So if you want to take a Llama 2, which has got a vast trove of data sets, and fine tune it for medical or retail or any of those kinds of vertically focused orientations, you do have to retrain a little bit, and you are going to spend some time doing that because it's going to be purpose-built for your business and what you're trying to achieve out of it. Now, embedding is a different thing. That's where you're giving one of these foundational models access to data sets. And what you want it to do is to search through those data sets as part of the question and answer process that you have with it. So say you want to ask a Copilot or your own model, hey, give me a verbiage for a marketing email and then give me the sources for where that verbiage came from. That's where you would get that kind of a response from. And that would be from the embedding of your data sets into the responses that are being generated by these tools. And you are going to have to do some of these things along the way. Some are either as part of the use column that I said on my previous slide, or the adapt model that I was talking about as well. So moving on. One of the key players, this goes almost unsaid in the space, is NVIDIA. And what NVIDIA really brings to the table is this framework called NVIDIA AI Enterprise. And it's an open end-to-end platform. What it lets you do is manage the workflows to do any of those three models that I talked about, the do, adapt, use models, and really start giving your users the ability to interact with it in whatever model that specifically happens to be. What's really nice about that is that they give you access through that framework to lots of capabilities from lots of different models that are already pre-trained, or the capability to do fine tuning and or capabilities to do embedding and to do all of the data science and the development that you need associated with this to drive the outcome that you're trying to get done. And interestingly, it does operate in a cloud native way. And what they mean by that is that cloud native is the CNCF definition of cloud native. It's a model of operating, not a location model operating. And in fact, you can use this framework with an all cloud-based NVIDIA environment, or an all private infrastructure model, or in a hybrid model as well. The same operating model applies across all of them. And oh, by the way, because you are using some expensive resources, it's important that you have a mechanism to optimize the consumption of that. And that's part of the framework as well. What gets delivered by this framework is the ability to do acceleration, regardless of the location where you end up ultimately doing the compute. So like I mentioned, it could be cloud, could be data center, it could be the edge. And that's typically more on the use, or to be more technically accurate, the inferencing side of the house. You already have a model, you've trained it, you've fine-tuned it, you've embedded some knowledge in it, and you want to end up driving some capability at the edge. You're using capabilities of it through inferencing. And same thing for an embedded application, maybe in a mobile device or a smart robot or one of those kinds of things. You would embed those capabilities inside of it. This is all part of the same framework. Now, the other co-participant in this webcast is Pure Storage. And as I mentioned before, when you're doing that adapt model that I talked about before, you're going to have a significant amount of information. But not only do you have to have it curated and managed and all that, but it has to be very performant. You have to be able to deliver this at scale. So that these GPUs and CPUs that are doing all of this training and fine tuning for you are receiving the data at the rate that they'd like to get this information. And let me tell you, they can consume lots of data very, very quickly. So Pure provides that. Pure provides you the ability to connect into the rest of the NVIDIA infrastructure that then gives you the framework that then gives you the capability of driving those outcomes that you're trying to drive. So the combination is what really makes the true foundation for you to be able to do these things. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. There's a lot to unpack in there. I went fairly quickly through this thing. If you would like to get more details to how any of these things interact or how we can help you, you please scan the QR code that's on the screen. Happy to connect with you directly, or we will connect you to any of our teammates that are super deep in all of these technologies. And thank you for your time, and look forward to the next conversation.